I would just kind of like debrief things I was working through with him in the project. And something that he brought up in one of our first meetings was a quote from, I think it's Kierkegaard. And I can't quote it verbatim, but it was sort of essentially the idea of, an artist bringing forth this like work that has been torn from our guts out of the suffering we've been through, and then people asking for more and more and more. We want more of that. And it's really just, they're asking
Yeah.
us to suffer more.
Yeah, it's quite tragic. Today on the show, we are joined with singer-songwriter Sarah Hiltz. This is an absolutely incredible conversation. Last month, Sarah released a brand new album titled Calm Fury, and the process behind it is so interesting. She took some years to study how we as humans internalize and project anger, and turned all her studies into an amazing album. And even the title Calm Fury is so amazing because the music is beautiful, but when you look at the lyrics and really give it a listen, that's where the fury is. And she's also producing a podcast of her own titled The Fury Pod. If you'd like to hear a further analysis of this process and studies and her journey of making this album. Also around that, obviously, it opened up for some deep, deep conversation. And I can't thank Sarah enough for this amazing talk. These are the type of conversations where I listen back, I'm like, wow, this is why we do the show. And from past episodes, when we've taken deep dives of absolute openness and honesty, those are always the ones I get feedback from people. So I know you guys listening are going to really enjoy this. And before we go on, usually I thank all you Patreon legends at the end of the episode. But for this one, we need to do this right at the beginning. You may have noticed I haven't posted an episode in a while. Just lots of life changes, work transitions, shit I do to pay the bills had to come first. And even life just kind of threw a wrench in my gears. And that's the reason why you haven't heard from me in a while. And even this episode, we recorded it like a month ago. And I just had to take a step back to step forward. And I want to say your support, specifically the Patreon, kind of saved me a bit throughout that transition period. So apologies for not giving you guys any content. There's a lot coming up I got scheduled this month, but just want to send my love and thanks. Like with your support, like everything goes back into the show, and you guys actually saved it from keeping the web hosting going. There's like so many hidden expenses that you can't like, I could list them all, but that's boring. So let's get into the thanks. First up, the co-producer Jeremy Hopkin of Hopkin Design. Much love to you, my legend. The Queen Ola Mazuka of Sonic Fold. Ryan Watkins of Ryan Radio. Amanda McKnight of Top 10 Nerd. Pat Maloney, Ryan Campbell, Daniel Son, Devin Staple, Devin McBride, Ramshi. Actually, YouTube Ramshi right now. He's got a new song out and it's awesome. Mike Julio, Jenny Potter, Jared Pepper Bronstein, aka Mr. Spicy. Oh, he's so hot. And last but not least, Francis Coffer, aka my mom. Thank you all, and if you want a shout out on each and every episode, you can go to patreon.com/thecreativeinbalance, and you will be getting all future episodes extra early. We put up the raw Zoom call up there, unedited, uncut, and you guys get a sneak peek of everything. So thanks again. But that's all I gotta say for an intro. Let's get right into this. Let's dive into the Calm Fury with Sarah Hiltz right now. I read you spent the last 3 years learning how people express their anger, and you turned it into this album titled Calm Fury, which is coming out on March the 4th. And another thing, I just love the title as well too. I think it's just captures it perfectly, where it's something you can listen to and just chill to, but when you look into like the layers or really listen to the lyrics, there's that's where the fury is, I guess. So can you tell me a little bit about your journey of creating this piece?
Yeah. So it kind of all started because I made the shocking discovery that I'm really angry about a lot of things, and I previously just sort of denied that emotion because I thought it was, I kind of was socialized growing up to believe it's inappropriate or a negative emotion. And so, yeah, understanding that about myself and kind of wanting to embrace the fullness of human experience and emotion,
Yeah.
I started trying to let the anger out, and it just didn't go great, you know? It just,
Do you
if you're
feel
not
like it was like a certain way you were projecting it? Like was it like in an unhealthy way or like
unhealthy, yeah, it was condescending and smug and just kind of not treating people with the dignity that they deserve, I think, sometimes. So I but I didn't know how to how do you, I still actually struggle with the idea of expressing when I'm angry about something in a way that isn't gonna be harmful to somebody else or hurt their feelings.
oh
And
yeah.
anyways, that was once I kind of was, I realized, oh, this is a deeper struggle for me. It's not just admitting I'm angry. It's like, how do you actually process it and let it out? I decided I was gonna try to learn as much as I could about that and start writing about it. And that's what brought me here. But it was one thing that kind of pops out through the learning is that um, my anger and other people too, a lot of women, but men also, like we're not all, it's not like a black and white divide there. I don't really have like a ferocious, outbursty sort of anger. Not maybe like a couple of times in my life, but even when I,
I think
even
we
when,
all had like it's just those
yeah,
moments where
in those moments,
yeah.
but it still is like an unmeasured expression. Like even in my most out of control angry moments, I'm still like kind of conscious on some level. And so that's sort of, I think, where the idea of calm fury comes from. And another title I had thought of was cold fury, maybe just like the idea of like
Yeah.
burning, but like at a, I don't know, some kind of even keeled temperature. I hope
Yeah.
that's what I aspire to.
Yeah, it's cool, but yeah, even beyond the music, it's interesting to hear you say that too, and I think it's very powerful once you kind of have like these self realizations as a human of what you can work on as well, and like I don't know about you, but I feel like the whole like pandemic and being having forced isolation, being at home with my own thoughts, that brought up personally a lot for myself. And is this where you kind of came for your like a whole revelation of this certain like internal anger you had?
Oh no, it was earlier than
Yeah.
that. Yeah, like 2017, 2018 was when that started, and then the idea for the project would have been spring 2018. Um, so pretty well before the pandemic. Yeah, but I mean, the pandemic brought up all kinds of other stuff.
Yeah, just yeah. This seems to be like I don't know, like I try not to always like talk about it on the show, and this like the last two guests I had to, it was just like musicians who kind of had a post-pandemic like album as well. But I don't know, I just feel like it's interesting, and as an artist it's almost like a superpower you guys have where you can get hit with like so much negative emotion or like just in anything, but also be able to turn it around and express it and turn it into a piece that somebody can listen to, or you can play live, or you can make money from, or like it's like it sucks that you have to like feel like these emotions to tap into that, but what comes out of it is like usually something beautiful, whether you're like a musician or a filmmaker or whatever. But
Yeah, yeah. There's
yeah.
one of my community partners during the research phase of this project, when I would just kind of like debrief things I was working through with him in the project. And something that he brought up in one of our first meetings was a quote from, I think it's Kierkegaard. And I can't quote it verbatim, but it was sort of essentially the idea of, an artist bringing forth this like work that has been torn from our guts out of the suffering we've been through, and then people asking for more and more and more. We want more of that. And it's really just, they're
Yeah.
asking us to suffer more.
Yeah, it's quite tragic. Like, yeah, yeah. I think what's cool too is you also got a podcast going right now as the Fury Pod. Am I correct?
Yeah, I
Yeah, and
do.
you're kind of like breaking down like the songs and things
Right.
like that, and that's really cool. Like, as I only know one other artist who did that, and I just love that. Like, just be,
Mhm.
especially if you like really enjoy the music, to just get all these different layers. Because like sometimes as a listener, we take things in and interpret it our own way, and we never really know what
Mhm.
exactly like the little pieces and nuances of everything. And usually there's more layers to that. So how does it feel to like kind of also reflect on everything after you've put this piece together?
Um, it's such a challenge to compact it all into music alone, like so much learning and research, so many conversations, so much reading that I did for this project. And then, write a little like 3.5 minute song and then it's over. And
Mhm.
like every word carries significance in my mind of like what I'm trying to convey. Um, but I people don't a lot of times we put music on as just sort of background wallpaper, right?
Yeah.
Like sort of soundtracking our lives and just creating an atmosphere and not really engaging with it that deeply. I know that sometimes people do, but and I do the same thing with music, Sometimes it is just my atmosphere and sometimes it's like an experience that I'm having. Um, yeah, so like the podcast was kind of just a way for me to be able to share more of what went into it because I think it's important that we figure out how to be angry,
Mhm.
in a way that doesn't just cause like deep, deep division in society. Um, yeah, and I feel like, songs are not going to be enough to do that.
Yeah, but I do think it's one of the most healthiest releases you can like navigate those feelings, or even
Mhm.
um put that energy into.
Yeah.
I don't know. I find like even throughout my own personal life too, I've earlier on I've had like struggles where it was almost like you express it, like I had like anger or like sadness in me, but I wouldn't show it at all. And
Mhm.
then that comes to like what we were talking about, where you have those moments where you just one day you just explode and have an outrage because you haven't, like, I don't know, you just turn into like a ticking time bomb. And I
Yeah.
think it's very um like healthy to be open and talk about that. And the older I get, the more I'm learning about that too.
Mhm.
Do
How
you
do you
feel the
like, how
same?
do you process anger? Like, has it changed for you from when you were younger to now?
Yeah, I used to more like bottle things up, and when something would bug me, I'd try to I almost put on like this fake demeanor where I just like be like super cool and calm, collective, just like, yeah, yeah, whatever, like nothing bugs me. And then like a seed, like all these different moments will turn into seeds getting planted. And I like some things I'd be thinking about for years, just like, oh, that motherfucker. Like, and then it could be come out like later on, and like, or like having too much to drink, and like just like weirdness, like I've
Mhm.
just, I don't know, like I learned like in my college life, all that kind of came back out in like in a destructive way, and I'm not even the same person I was then. But that's from taking the time to almost have a revelation of like, hey, what is this, and let's look within. Because I find like not everybody, but a lot of people are scared to look within. And even I know some people have trouble even having a conversation like we're having right now, where they're just like almost run away from it in a way, or just, I don't know.
Mhm.
Do you feel like you come across like some people in your life like that as well?
Oh, for sure, for
Yeah.
sure. I always struggle with that because I just I feel like life's too short. What else are we here for?
Yeah. That's another
Yeah.
thing too. And I don't know if it is getting older and just thinking about my own mortality too, but I just started to stop caring and talk about things and that do bug me, and like, yeah, and just again, like putting that energy and finding healthy ways, like for myself, whether it's just like kind of just doing podcasts and interviews or just meditation and stuff like that. It's that's kind of like my version of making music in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah. So with things like open now, are you planning to like play any of this live as well, or?
Yes, I would love to. I will.
Yeah.
It's going to be an interesting journey, I think, to kind of rebuild. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I used to play with the four-piece band prior to the pandemic, kind of like up to the end of 2018, I guess. And then I went into the research phase of this project. So I was doing some solo shows, like one-offs here and there. Yeah, and then was like really focused on the writing and working towards recording, and then the pandemic came. So I
Yeah.
don't really have a band anymore. Like my former band members, like one of them went back to school, one of them moved to Ottawa, and one of them is working as a therapist now. So people, you know,
That's a good band member to have. You know, I feel like every band should have like maybe like a guitar player slash therapist like
that's what
on
he
the road
was.
with them.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah, yeah. He was great to have around.
Yeah, that's so dope.
Um, yeah. So I have to, kind of like assemble a new group of people to play with. And I'm all still I still play the odd solo show here and there. Um, but I'm actually in Alberta right now working on
Oh,
another research project. So I've sort of been trying to balance that and then the album rollout, and didn't have it in me to plan a tour that might get canceled again because of
yeah.
COVID. So
Yeah, you just kind of gotta like wait it out, I guess. Like who knows anymore, you know?
right.
It's like
I feel like now I've started to kind of like reach out and start trying to book things because it does feel like okay, now we're opening up to some degree and it's going to kind of stay that way, I think.
yeah, yeah, we can hope, fingers crossed.
Yes.
Also, you mentioned this research project. Are you allowed to talk about it and tell us what it is? Or?
Yeah, it's going to be kind of a long ongoing thing, maybe as long as the Fury project. Excuse me. Um, but I'm learning about liminality. Do you know what that means?
No, that was my next question. My brain's like, what does that word mean?
Like
Just
for
do a
people
quick
don't know,
Google,
it's
like, oh, liminality. Yeah.
yeah. So,
Yeah, educate me,
liminality
please.
or liminal space, it's talking about like betwixt and between, like you're not here, you're not there, just sort of
Oh,
like a
cool.
transitional phase or space in life. And I kind of like was going through a really, really big upheaval in my own life in 2019. And so I thought, like, whenever this fairy project gets finished, what am I going to work on next? And I thought, like, this is kind of what's coming up for me is liminality and feeling like having to hold so much uncertainty in life and feeling like the things I thought I knew, I don't know them anymore. And yeah, so that was kind of the project. I wrote like a grant proposal for that, and I tied it in with winter farming practices because you got to
Oh,
make it
cool.
Canadian, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
um, Winter like is liminal as far as a season goes. You know, you're just kind of waiting for things to grow again and come back. And so I thought I would come and learn from some farmers how they deal with uncertainty within their jobs in general, but also the liminal space of winter. And so I've been
Wow.
in Alberta learning about that. And
I love
and
that commitment, especially to go to Alberta to do it. Like, I like it's almost like you're like, I gotta do this authentically. Like, let's go here. Like,
right. I'm going to tell you the truth, Sean. Part of it was that I started writing the proposal for that grant, and then the pandemic happened, and then we went through like the eternal lockdown of last winter. And when I submitted April 2021, I just thought, I got to find a way to get the hell out of Toronto next winter,
Yeah.
just in case, like just in case. And
Yeah.
I'm really glad I did that.
Yeah, and you're killing like a couple birds with one stone, you know, like you got like a project. That's great. That's awesome. And
Yeah.
even like I love how I just learned the word liminality like 2 minutes ago, and my brain's like, wow, I just live in liminality. Like I'm learning like so much from
Right.
about myself, and yeah, just right now
Oh,
that put me in like a rabbit hole of just thinking. But
yeah. I feel the same way, you know,
yeah.
like I keep waiting for this liminal phase to end, and then it just keeps going. I think maybe that's what real life is. And we're
Yeah,
just
does it end?
ourselves
I don't
before.
know.
I don't think so. Anyway,
Yeah,
just
there's
keep.
always like that feeling of like, oh, if I get to this spot, I'm going to be happy, and then you get there and then you're just thinking about the next thing and like you get conditioned and used to whatever that step is, and I don't know, and it goes and flows ups and downs, and it's very uncomfortable.
So uncomfortable. Like I'm
Yeah.
just tired of it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
there's like all these like meditation practices that I try to do, and if I don't do them for a while, like I totally lose it. But
yes.
it's like talk about like just like living in the present moment and stuff like that, because you can think about the future and the past, and that's usually what like gives you the anxiety. But a lot of the time when you like think of, hey, what's happening right this second,
Hmm.
oh, it's cool, I'm talking to Sarah, I got a tea here. It's like, oh yeah, like that other stuff that's bugging me is like now is awesome, you know, type of
Right.
thing. But a lot of times, like I don't know if it's just like the natural human brain, like we're conditioned to just like always like pick around, like whether it's like the future and past, and like feel like this certain like discomfort, and even if you're not showing it, it's like yeah, beyond the layers of everything.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so funny too. Like I also kind of have like meditation and prayer practices, and if I don't do it for a while, like I like lose a sense of I don't know, contentedness or like peace that kind of carries me through all of the uncertainty. And I know if I just like spend some time and kind of like get centered and grounded again with that thing, like with the present moment, like that's because when you are in the present moment, nothing is really that terrible, you know?
Yeah.
You're here and you're alive, and you realize like your place in the midst of everything and how insignificant you are, but how, like it still matters that you're here breathing anyways, you know? And
Yeah.
like everything is kind of melts away. And I know that if I like just hone in on those practices, that I can stay connected to that. And I still just don't sometimes, which is,
Yeah,
I don't know
meditation's so
why.
interesting to me too, because it's even though like it's about like taking a moment to do nothing,
Mm,
sometimes it feels like work. Like almost you feel discomfort to stop moving in whatever the life machine you're in, because you
yeah,
feel like I feel like a lot of people, and sometimes I have moments that it's going to punish me if I don't keep hustling or doing things. And but
yeah.
sometimes like stepping back is the best way to even step forward and just reground yourself. And
Hmm.
yeah, right now I'm just kind of telling myself things I need to hear, you know. Like I haven't been practicing at all, and like just
Yeah.
conversations like give me a
Uh,
revelation. But
Me either, Sean. We're both gonna.
yeah, the intentions are there, and maybe somebody will listen to this and just get something out of it too, because it when you do it, it is very beneficial. And
Hmm.
meditation can be anything. Like it's like there's not like, I think lots of people think there's like a set way to do it where you got to like cross your legs and like or like follow this guided thing, but it could be like whatever your comfort zone is, to just go back to this conversation full circle, to look internally into yourself and
Hmm.
just learn and just
Hmm.
listen to your body and everything.
Yeah, completely,
Yeah.
completely.
Do you feel like making music is a form of meditation?
Oh, totally. Totally. Yeah. Like I love to just kind of sit at a piano sometimes and just sort of mess around and see what happens. And I feel like I get into like an altered state a little bit, like um yeah, I guess it is really connecting with the present moment, because if you're improvising musically, you have to be really present with what you're doing, you know, and just kind
Hmm.
of like letting something flow through you. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I kind of hear now that you say that, like when I listen to the album, I kind of feel that like through the music that it's like it's not like I wouldn't consider it jazz, but it does have like kind of like this jazzy, like flowing feeling to it as well. And it's just like kind of can dip into different genres. It's truly its own thing. One track I really liked was Swim. And it
Oh.
reminded me of like an oldies song in a way. Like I don't know, like just the vibe from it. It's just there's a lot of charm to that track.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know where it all comes from. It is kind of oldies feeling.
Yeah, yeah, it's cool. Um, yeah, you were talking about like looking to play live again too. When you write like new stuff where it like has like a lot of lyrics where it comes from like internal thoughts and within, do you ever feel like vulnerable like playing it for the first time and putting it out there, even like putting out the album as well?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Of course, for sure. There's certain things on the record that I know, like if certain people listen to it, they're gonna know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Like very specific events maybe, and that can be very vulnerable for
yeah, like
sure.
this the person like, hey, that's me, like type of thing. Like,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
and that's I kind of struggle with that because, that's I write about what really matters to me, and I think relationships with people I care about in my life, that's one of the things that matters to me the most, and like trying to heal conflict, and um so that shows up in my writing, but then it's also like that's somebody else's personal life too, and
Yeah.
now I've just like shared it with the world. It's on the internet forever. um and it's kind of like maybe just a byproduct of knowing and loving an artist is
Yeah.
you have to
I
be willing to have your dirty laundry aired to some degree.
Yeah, especially when you make it so raw and real though. I think that's what's amazing about music too, and people could hear a song and like have an extra deeper connection with
Mhm.
it instead of like I know like some people like they'll try to write music as like a template. It's like, oh, this song is popular now in this style, and we got to do this, and it just kind of has this soulless feeling where
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like if you navigate it like kind of like in the style of like how it sounds like you write too, it just comes from like deep within, and people hear that, and like sometimes they'll hear things that they might have never heard on a song before or whatever. That's their own thoughts and narrative too, or something they relate to.
Mhm.
And I always think that's a beautiful thing, and also brave as an artist as well to be able to um, just want to put that out there or just push through it, because even I'm sure sometimes tapping into that stuff it doesn't feel comfortable in a way.
No. No, there's a lot of crying involved.
You know.
But I think about like the artists who have created things that somehow they're able to uh, capture a thing that I feel, and like sometimes the things that we feel that we're not able to articulate or like bring outside of ourselves to share, it just feels like such an isolated thing, right? And
Mhm.
it's pretty magical when you can hear somebody else describe the way that you feel in a way that you weren't able to say, but you felt it, and then somebody else says it and you're like, oh my goodness, that's it, right? And then you're just not alone in it anymore. And there, I don't know why does it matter so much to just be able to say like, this is what I felt. Like, this is what happened. This is what I felt.
Yeah, there's like some societal programming I think we all have in a way where there's most of us like put up this wall, and
Mhm.
like to actually like put that out there, it's like you got to internally like break through it in a way. It's like, or it's like you overthink almost like how other people are going to feel or think about you, like almost like, if I say this, are people going to think I'm crazy or weird, when really I think a lot of people deep down relate to everything, like
Right.
whether it's anger, sadness, or whatever. But I feel like we, not everybody, but like the majority, just feels the need to put on like their best smile and always feel like, hey, everything's okay, when maybe it's not, and
Mhm.
everything.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very cool that like I think the things that we believe that we might be alone in and we might feel totally alone in, and myself included as a songwriter, sometimes I'll write things and feel like nobody's gonna like I just feel like nobody's I'm writing it, it's expressing where I'm at, and then I'm surprised at the way that people resonate with it, like something
Yeah.
that feels so specific to my own experience. It's like it's really not, humans have been alive for a long time, and we kind of just do the same stuff like lifetime to lifetime.
Yeah. Do you have like a specific like revelation of somebody like giving you feedback? Actually, last or a few weeks ago, I went to see my friend do a comedy show, and during his set, he just for a second he mentioned something like in his life where earlier on, like he lost his mother when he was like a kid, but like he made it like into like, I forget exactly like how it connected into a joke, because that sounds like like it's something that's totally not funny, but it like it turned into like a silly like narrative type thing. But then and it was just like for like a second of his like 20-minute set or whatever, and then after we're just having a beer at the bar, and somebody who was in the audience came up to him and was like, hey, I just want to say I lost my mother as well, and I connect to all this and stuff like that. And it was just like an afterthought of him like saying that in his set too, and like it turned into like this deeper connection. Do you ever have like a lyric or something you just kind of put down where like like you don't expect to get feedback from, and then somebody really connects to that?
um I mean, like, also one of the things I would say that I felt like the most alone in writing about, it's like kind of silly that I just like have this like fear of infinity, of like outer space expanding forever. But if I think about the opposite, that it could be finite, that's equally terrifying to me. And
Yeah.
I've kind of like gone into weird places thinking about that before, where I almost have a panic attack and I have to like think about something else, because I feel like I'm gonna lose my marbles. you know it's like such a weird thing, and so I wrote this song that talks about that a bit. It's actually not recorded or released, but it's called Talk About Forever. And
That's
when
a
I
cool
play it,
title for it too.
play it live at shows and kind of like talk about what it is and be like, is anybody else afraid of outer space? And almost nobody ever is.
Oh,
But then
really?
like a couple of times the people are like, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, thank God.
It's like one of those like 4 a.m. thoughts. You're just like, whoa, what is all this? And it just brings, I get that, and it's,
Yeah.
there's, but like, it depends on like my mood. Like some days I'll think about that. I'm like, oh, that's like really cool. Like you look up, and I also feel like we're so conditioned to like just look down and like almost like horse blinders of what all of this is really is, or we don't like to dive into those thoughts because there's really no answer to it.
No
Like,
answer. No
yeah.
possible way we could ever understand. And, like, I think that could drive you to insanity, actually. It's too much. Like, it's too much for one human to understand the nature of the universe. It's impossible. So, I usually have to just like, you know what? I put those blinders back on, like this is how I survive, and I think about the most concrete things and like, you know, loving people that I can actually love human beings like here in front of me because it's just like it's too big. It's too big outside of that, you know.
Yeah, it's like I don't know, it's there's a beauty to it, but it's also like a danger to it too, like where like some people can live in that thought and then they get disconnected from what they're grounded with. But it's cool
Right.
that you just think of like almost, hey, like what's around me, let's take care of this and everything.
Yeah.
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 Also, I got to hear this song. It sounds like my jam.
It's a bit silly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah. It's like a little bit nihilistic, I think, at the same time, and talks about drinking beer in the afternoon.
Yeah. Is it almost like the vibe of like it doesn't matter, like what's the point, like just
Yeah, a little bit
yeah.
like that. Like, like if nothing matters, then you might as well enjoy yourself, you know.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love this. This is great. This is probably like I don't know. I'm probably gonna cut this out. This is probably like out of like the last like 4 recordings I had, like one of my favorite conversations. I'm gonna cut what I said right there just so I don't
Right.
like
That's
upset
just
any other
between us
artists
and
or
all.
what. Yeah. I don't know. It's just there's something that's just so fun of like when you meet somebody who you can just talk about like stuff like that. I find
Mhm.
I find other people, like people will um embrace it or just like want to just shut it down right away. It's like nope, nope.
Mhm. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
true. I don't last long in those shut it down conversations usually.
Yeah, me
You know.
neither. Or it's just like I was actually having another talk with a different artist too of like just having those thoughts like I feel like just in creatives in general, like they think on multiple layers of things. And she was in more of like a circle where around people who aren't like that. They're more like very like surface, like 9 to 5ers. I go to work, I come home, I watch Netflix, go to sleep, like repeat type of thing, and just don't think about everything else. And she was saying like she's got like a lot of friends like that,
Mhm.
but even though she like there's like a lot of like people around her, like you kind of feel alone in a way too.
Mhm.
And I don't know. It's that's an interesting thought too when you have like these deeper feelings and thoughts too, and like around a lot of people who are conditioned to not dive deep. Have you ever had like a moment in your life where you've been around like that, or like an earlier age where you realized you're falling into your creative path or whatnot? And
Um, yeah. Falling into my creative path. I mean, yeah, like I guess of course I have to work other side hustle jobs.
mm-hmm,
Um, I feel like I've been really lucky because I generally always find a way to work for small business owners. So I don't like I've never worked for a corporation or like a large business. So I think that helps because often there I'm working with other creative types who are also trying to like fill in a side hustle.
mm-hmm.
um that helps, but yeah, like it can kind of like exist at a more shallow level, I think. And if I don't like let myself fall into that creative path, um, I start to lose the plot and the days just lose their lose their meaning and I'm like pretty unhappy. Um,
Yeah, I relate to that a lot.
I think like I can be unhappy a lot of time anyways. A lot of the time. And so because of that, I think at least I need to be doing something that has a meaning. Um,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I feel that too, and I feel like in my life it took me a while to even have a revelation of that in a
Mm-hmm.
way where I was trying to just be on the path that I was like told to, or like just take
Mm-hmm.
advice because people are just it comes from a good place, like family members. It's like, oh yeah, you should do this to structure yourself or whatever, but there was always just some create inner creative thing that been calling me that you have to embrace as well.
I spent a year teaching English in Guatemala, and that was like you get up early in the morning, you go teach kids all day, and I'm not a morning person, and I wasn't really playing music, and I just thought, whatever, this is my life for now, this is what I'm doing. And then I got sick and I got a cold, and I couldn't sleep because of the cold, so I was up till 2 or 3 in the morning. And even though I felt so ill and awful, I was just like, oh my goodness, I'm so alive. I'm like back to my true self, the artist who stays up at night,
Oh
and
wow,
not works from 9 to 5.
that's so interesting. Yeah, it's almost like it's the 9 to 5's not meant to be, even though that sounds like an amazing experience. And I'm sure like some other person would love to have that job, but sometimes it
Mhm.
takes moments like that and strange revelations to realize like this might not be my path in a way.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. Even as we wind down this interview, I just want to thank you for being just so open and being able to go down like some rabbit holes with these talks as well. Like I feel like we should like start another side podcast talking about infinity and, and everything.
I'll just I'll have to be medicated for that to avoid the panic
Oh,
attacks that
oh,
come.
definitely. Yeah. And it would just be nonsense, because like nobody has the answers. But
Right.
that's the thing about it. It could be like a forever series.
Yes.
but yeah, what I'm really trying to say, you're welcome back anytime. And it's really cool to hear the layers behind your process and everything. And like we mentioned at the beginning of the interview too, people can check out this album on March 4th, and you got a couple of singles released as well right now.
Yeah, there's 5 off the.
5, okay,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, all right, so they can get a huge chunk
Mhm.
of it and get a little teaser and everything.
Yes, please do. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I wanted to ask too, right now you're like kind of on like this new journey in Alberta, just taking in a lot of like introspective stuff. And are you planning on turning this into music, or is this just
Oh,
something
yes.
to
Yeah,
do?
that's the
Oh,
eventual
okay.
goal. It's like I did the same thing for this project, the Fury project, a research phase that happened for like a year and a half that fed into the writing process before I went into the studio. So that's I'm doing the same thing now. Yeah.
That's such an
Right.
awesome way to, I don't know, just create an album in general,
Yeah.
and very unique and just cool. Like that's badass. Like especially just moving somewhere and almost it's like the experience is as important as sitting down, writing the music, writing the lyrics, and just taking in life. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's amazing.
Yeah. It's part of the job, right? Like it's like what do I have to talk about if I'm not actually really living life? So, yeah, that's where I'm going with that. I'll be back in Ontario though. I fly back to Toronto in March. And then this project will kind of take a little bit of a backseat for now. It wasn't supposed to overlap, It's just
Yeah.
because of COVID delays that the album is coming out while I'm doing the new research. I thought I would be touring in Alberta and then I would just kind of stick around for this part. Um, but you know, all of our timelines have shifted. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so I'm gonna refocus on performing, Calm Fury and working on that, and then I'll return to this research, and it feels very on brand for it anyways because it's all uncertain and liminal. So it makes sense that it's gonna take me longer than I thought.
Yeah, this is perfect, it's part of the concept and everything.
Right,
But
I did it on purpose.
yeah, but even I think just that process in general, it beyond music, like anybody who's like an artist, whether you're a comedian or a filmmaker or whatever, I think they can I don't know, learn and get like a lot of inspiration about like your process and journey. And yeah, it's just cool and unique. And it totally makes sense to just go out and live for a bit. Cause I feel like a lot of us, we get so focused on, okay, we need to have this product and like thinking about time, but sometimes you just kind of need to breathe and
Yeah.
let take in more life in a way and breathe it in and process and then
Yeah.
put your pen to a pad and everything.
Exactly. It's my own like resistance against capitalism, I suppose, you know.
Hell yeah. We're about that here. That's awesome. Yeah, and before we close out, is there anything else you like to say?
Yeah, I mean, I would love it if people check out my podcast too, The Fury Pod, where we're just talking about different things, how they connect with anger in our lives, and of course the music. March 4th. There's listen to what's out there now and keep your eyes out for me live, because that's where the real magic happens. It's like sharing the music in a room with humans, and I can't wait to do that again.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm definitely going to see you when you're in Toronto. And yeah, for anybody interested in that podcast and the singles that are out now, alongside this episode on our page at creativeimbalance.com, we'll have links to everything on the page for this episode. So check it out. Download, like, subscribe, all the things the influencers say, and follow her. That's it's awesome. It's great to meet you, and definitely love to have a chat again down the road for the next one.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much.
Hope you guys enjoyed that talk with Sarah Hiltz. Like we mentioned, her latest album, Calm Fury, out now. Also, the Fury Pod, if you want a deeper dive into the process of all that. Love this talk. Follow her on everything. And definitely down the road, we're going to have to bug her to come back on. But before we go, once again, biggest thanks to everybody on the Patreon. The man, the co-producer, Jeremy Hopkin of Hopkin Design. The queen, Ola Mazuka of Sonic Fold. Ryan Watkins of Ryan Radio. You hit me up this week, and I hope you're doing well. Lots of vibes and energy to you, my friend. Amanda McKnight of Top 10 Nerd. Pat Maloney. Ryan Campbell. Daniel Son, Devin Staple, Devin McBride, Ramshi, Mike Ulio, Jenny Potter, Jared Pepper Bronstein, aka Mr. Spicy, and Francis Coffer, aka my mom. If you want to support the show and get each and every one of these episodes uncut and early, right when I'm done recording, I just post a raw Zoom file for you, so you get it immediately, and you get my love and shout outs at the end of every episode. You can hit up patreon.com/thecreativeimbalance and help a brother out. I think the lowest tier is $4 a month, and you get all that. And with that being said, I'm excited to be back in action. Got some amazing guests coming your way, and thank you so much for listening. See you next time.